welcome to JG's Fight Talk, and I've got Mike McGoldrick. How you
Hey
doing,
mate,
Mike?
you all right?
Yeah,
I'm doing good.
mate.
I'm tired at the moment, but I'm all right.
Yeah, you've been wiped out by the old COVID, mate.
Yeah, I got the Rona about 3 weeks ago. Wiped me out for a good week. Got over some of my symptoms and that now, but my body's still tired. I'm just, as soon as I'm getting home from work, I'm going to bed and just sleeping. So hopefully be back in the gym again soon, training for another fight. Hope to see how that goes.
Yeah, when are you hoping to sort of get back into the training side?
Well, I tried going for a run the other day, and I normally run like 5K a day every day in the morning before I train later on. And I only got to like 3K, and I had to stop because I was knackered. So I guess it'll just be a slow process of building up. I'll be back down my boxing gym next week and see how that feels. But I wanted to get a fight in at least before summer. We've been talking to my manager about an area title fight, so hopefully I'm back up to where we need to be before then.
Yeah. Let's hope so, mate. I really hope, you can pull back to how you were, because like we were saying just before we came on, it's, you said it was November, wasn't it, since you last?
Yeah, start of November it was.
So you had that.
I was lucky enough to be active last year. Not a lot of fighters were, but still, I don't want a big period of inactivity again because there were only 2 3-round fights, weren't they? So I do want to be active again before summer.
I remember your interview after the fight when you turned around and said, I can go the round, so I'm happy to, keep going.
Yeah, without a doubt, yeah. Like, I want my next fight to be a 10-rounder because I want to fight for a title. So I know I can do 10 rounds. So let's go.
Because your first fight was Harry Woods, wasn't it, in the boxer tournament?
Yeah.
And that was an absolute cracker, wasn't it? To be fair.
Yeah, but I believe so. Yeah, it felt all right. Anyways, it was a good fight. Harry seemed to want to box me the way that I wanted to box him, so that just made it a really good fight. I wanted to box him at close range, and I wanted to keep it on the inside, and he seemed to let me do that. So it just turned into a really good fight.
Yeah, I watched it again earlier, and it was just one of those where you both sort of put your foot on the gas, and it was a case of who was gonna, show that your weakness first, because neither of you looked like you wanted to give up, but he didn't want. I don't think he wanted that sort of fight. But you got drawn in. You drew him in.
I think because he's such a tall lad and he had a good jab, but I think once he lost, I knew that if he lost the first round, it would put the pressure on him then. Because if you want to sit off and just jab somebody, you have to be relaxed and confident that you're going to win. But if you lose the first round in a 3-round fight, you all of a sudden you can't be relaxed and just lay on your jab because you think I'm really behind here. I need to win the next 2 rounds. So it made him force his pace, and that's another thing I wanted to do because when I'd watched a couple of clips of him and I just noticed that he liked time to make his decisions. So I just didn't want to give him any time. And part of that game plan was to try and win that first round, and then he'll feel like he's not got very much time left, and then it'll put pressure on him.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed it. My wife's just kind of got into watching the boxing when they put it on sort of ITV4, Channel 5. Putting it back on terrestrial telly, really, and. She was going, oh, go on, Mike, go on. And I was thinking,
nice
one of those where it could have, it was a case of who was going to give up first, and you weren't having it. And, it was a great fight to watch. And then, obviously, you went into Zach Chelly.
Yeah.
And, it was the body shots, wasn't it? They were.
Well, I think... I said this to a few people afterwards. I used a lot of mental energy getting ready for the Harry Woods fight, especially the night before, thinking about what I was going to do in terms of a game plan. And I was going over it. And I didn't want to look past that fight. So once I won that fight, I was all of a sudden in a position where I hadn't put any thought into a game plan of how I was going to beat Zach Chelly, because I didn't want to look past the first fight. So I went into the. I'm not. This ain't an excuse. Like, Zach beat me fair and square, but I went into the second fight with not much of a game plan. So I was kind of just doing it on the night. I picked up a couple of little injuries in the first fight as well that I sort of didn't mention, and then so I was already knackered when I went in. But that's no excuse. So Zach was better than me on the night and beat me fair and square. So
you think that's the difficulty with those tournaments, though, isn't it? Because you're not just gearing up for one guy. You're gearing up for that first guy, and then you've got to change and adapt your game plan, and no matter how knackered you are or whatever. And yeah, I know it's 3 rounds, but bloody hell, they were 3 rounds that were a challenge, weren't they? And then you've got in against someone else who was relatively fresh from his fight. He didn't really. He just stood on the back foot and just kept him and worked it. I
still haven't watched his first fight, so I don't know. I still to this day I haven't watched it. So I believe he had quite an easy fight, but I still haven't watched it to this day. And I as an amateur, I never boxed in the ABAs. I didn't. So I never had a day where I had more than one fight. I never tournament boxed as an amateur, so that's the first time I had tournament boxed. So there's a whole new experience for me having more than one fight in one night. So I think I learned a lot from it, and I'm glad that I had 2 difficult fights early on. I say early on in my career, I'm getting on a bit, but I'm glad I didn't just turn that opportunity down to fight someone else who was a journeyman or whatever, because I feel like I've learned a lot mentally and physically from that fight, definitely from both of them fights.
Yeah, and like we were saying earlier, you've learned from a whole different experience as well because of the not having fans. So you've basically had 2 fights with no fans at all. Yeah. How was that?
I actually prefer not having the pressure of having all my friends spend money and come down and watch me fight, because you want people to see you there when you're winning. You want to see them to see you performing well. But sometimes the pressure of selling tickets, especially if you're not doing very well with the tickets and you're getting close to the fight night, it can be overwhelming compared to the fight, and it can having the thoughts of that pressure can sometimes take over your preparation. So I actually found it easier to prepare for these fights because I took them last minute, and because I didn't have any pressure of selling tickets because there was no crowd there. I actually found them aspects of it much easier, and I would be happy to do that again. I would be happy to take last minute fight again. I would be happy to fight with no crowd because it was just way less pressure on me. I think especially when you're early on in your career like I was, and you're fighting journeymen as well, you feel a bit like when your mates are buying tickets and buying hotels to come and watch it, and you fight these guys, and sometimes they don't throw a punch back or they just curl up in a shell. You feel like you're ripping your mates off a bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, your mates are coming down to support you, and you're just beating guys that aren't really trying. Yeah. So I actually prefer just fighting, 50-50 or putting it all on the line, but without the crowd and the pressure. That was just less hassle for me.
So you were saying just now, you took it almost like a last minute.
10 days I had.
10 days?
Yeah. I had to drop £15 as well. Which I dropped a lot of it in water because I was walking around a little bit heavier than I should be. But yeah, 10 days. I got in my house and I was just about to eat a massive pie that my missus cooked. I thought I wasn't going to fight again for the year because of COVID. And Johnny, my manager, phoned me and said, this opportunity's come up. This is what weight you've got to be and all that. And I was just like, yeah. I didn't even ask him what the money was or anything. I wasn't even interested. I just wanted to fight.
Grabbed it, yeah.
Yeah, just said, just get me in that straight away.
Love it.
Didn't even find out what I was getting paid till about a week
later. So they literally just contacted your manager and said, is he ready to go?
Yeah. Weirdly, like the guy that was supposed to fight in the tournament that got pulled out, Diego Costa.
Right.
Weirdly, I was sparring him a couple of weeks beforehand while he was still in the tournament, while he didn't know he was being pulled out. And I think just from there, whether they've seen it on social media or whatever, Diego's pulled out, and I think I had a picture up with me sparring him, and they might have just thought, well, he must be the same weight. We'll give his manager a thought. I don't know what's happened there, but it was weird that I was sparring one of the lads that was supposed to be in the tournament,
and then got
put in the tournament. Yeah, it was like, for me, it was like all little signs that were like, just go for it. You know what I mean?
So because did they give you? How does it work with the pay in regards to that sort of setup then, with that sort of event? Because obviously you've got your first fight, and then do you get? Is it just literally you're paid a chunk of money to be there?
You paid. I won't tell you any number.
No, I don't want to know numbers.
You paid for paid to enter. Paid to enter. Then you paid an extra amount of money if you get to the semi-final, and then you paid an extra amount of money if you win the final. So I got more than expected. I got to the semi-final, so I kind of got 2 tiers of the pay. So there was like a set amount for entering, a set amount for getting to the semi, and a set amount for getting to the final.
So you've been on top of your job, and then with 10 days' notice, you got a nice bumper pay packet just a
little bit, yeah.
I didn't know you took it at 10 days' notice. That's even more hats off to you, mate, to be honest. You know, to performance like you did, to turn down the pie and to take all the weight off. It's not easy anyway, is it? Let alone in that.
No, not at all. That was the first as a pro. That's the first time I've done a day before weigh-in where I've took that much weight off as well. We're actually going to fight at middleweight this year because I was so comfortable taking that weight off. To get to super middleweight, I was really comfortable doing it, and I started off from a heavier weight than I normally am anyway. So when we worked it out, we were like, we'll make middleweight easy. So we're probably going to do middleweight this year.
Yeah. You got to do what's comfortable for you, haven't you? You know, you see so many fighters that look drained, or so washed out that they've really pulled themselves down, or you know, and you just think, is it worth it? Like, if you're more comfortable fitting a particular weight, why don't you just do that? But then, I don't know, from a boxer's point of view, it might be different. I don't know.
Well, it's just about knowing your own body and stuff. Like, I've always been into like nutrition and stuff, so I don't have a problem with that way. I eat pretty healthy, and I've got a good base of knowledge. So if I need to like drop weight or put weight on, I can. I'm pretty comfortable at super middleweight, and I'm pretty comfortable at middleweight. The only thing at super middleweight is I think some of the bigger lads in that division are quite a lot bigger than me. Like, I know he's retired, but if you look at someone like George Groves stood next to me, you would think we were probably 2 or 3 weight classes apart. So I think I'm probably better off as a middleweight, but I would take opportunities at super middleweight if the right opportunities came up as well, because I'd be comfortable at both weights.
I suppose it'd be silly not to, wouldn't it? If the right fight comes along, you've just got to.
Yeah, definitely. The reason I was comfortable doing super middleweight on the boxing tournament is because of the 10 days notice.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm already a little bit heavy. I'm fine doing that.
Well, extra pie, mate. If you've got a, you know.
I won't go that far.
Well, so what's your? I suppose you just want to get back out and fight. Is your next thing, really, isn't it? You know, next ambition for the year really is just to get back out there and get back into the swing of it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't even sparred this year because we were just building back up to sparring again, and I got the COVID. So my immediate goal is to get back in training and just get some rounds under my belt, and then I just really want to fight before summer, because it's like you seen with Josh Warrington at the weekend. Like that, I think the inactivity, it can affect people.
Yeah.
So you just want to keep busy. And like I say, I haven't even sparred at all this year, so I need to be getting back sparring, get at least a few months sparring under my belt. Then I can get the confidence that I can do them rounds again, and then we can get a fight before summer.
Yeah. Hopefully, as you were saying, you can go for that, area title, or go for some. As you say, it's a case of what comes along, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
But let's hope the whole crowd situation. We've got that going on. You've got the card coming up this weekend. We were talking about the Marku Charlton fight, which could be an interesting one, couldn't it, this weekend?
Yeah, I don't know much about that Charlton. I got mixed up about before when we were chatting about him, but he's the guy that fought Joe Laws, and he's the guy that stopped him. There's a few people picking him to beat Marku. Marku was on the boxer card that I fought on. He's an ex-kickboxer, and I think that, like, I'm not like criticising him or anything, but you can tell he's an ex-kickboxer with his style, and that might be a bit of a disadvantage when he comes up against a slick boxer. But we'll see. He's definitely an exciting fighter to watch. He has a bit of a presence when he at the weigh-ins and stuff. He's got a bit of a presence. He's full of confidence, and you can't knock that, can you? He's willing to fight anyone, I think, genuinely. So should be an exciting fight.
I think he came straight out of that fight at the Boxer tournament, basically, and was calling out Conor Benn. He was calling out all sorts of people.
I think he got himself signed to match him on the back of that, didn't he?
Yeah.
He's got a massive following, I believe. I think is it Albanian?
Yes, the Albanians, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think I was speaking to a friend of mine that's from Kosovo, and he was saying that when one person does well from that area, all the other surrounding countries all support him.
Yeah.
So he's got a massive fan base there, and you can see on any of his social media when it's mentioned, there's like reams and reams of fans all commenting and stuff. So that's going to bode him well in terms of business opportunities in future, isn't it? So
yeah, as you say, it's an interesting one, because I know his previous fight he had a draw, and he was not impressed at all. And
I didn't see it, but I believe it was a controversial decision.
Yeah, to say the least. And he's basically still pissed at it, and he brings it up at every press conference and every meeting or interview that he, and so that could work in his favour to go out and say, look, I'm going to get the job done this time. Yeah.
I didn't see the fight. Was it a dodgy decision or what? Was it?
Yeah.
Was it bad?
He even knocked the guy down in one of the rounds, and they still gave it as a draw.
Was it a 6 rounder?
I think so. Yeah. But it weren't. It weren't good. You got to have a look at it. It's one of those where I don't know how it was a draw, and when they lifted the other guy's arm up at the same time, he was like, "Oh, really? Oh, okay, I'll take that." It was like, it weren't good. So it might spark a fire under him and say that he's got to start knocking people out and don't leave it to the judges. You never know, do you? Yeah, he was quite sluggish, but you'd think if you've got a knockdown and you've won the majority of the rounds, then it's pretty hard for the other guy to have a look in, really. But strange things happen, don't they? We were talking about the other card last weekend.
Yeah, Martinez. Yeah, I thought he won that. I thought he'd done enough to get the upset there. And like I said, before we done the interview, I watched it for Zelfa. I'm a fan of Zelfa Barrett, but I just think he got beat in that fight. Never mind the scorecard. That they were all over the place, but I do think Martinez done enough to win.
Yeah, I think the crowds play a big part as well, though. Just not having those crowds, and that could be the downfall of Marku, as he loves that.
Yeah,
doesn't he? But
I think it maybe has an influence on the judges as well. When people land, when the favourite lands good punches or combinations, the crowd obviously goes a bit wild, and it might influence the judges' decisions. Whereas when there's no crowd and some good punches are landing, or from the guy who's not the favourite, they might not see it, or it might not notice that the punches have landed as much.
Yeah, it's a straight. It's been going on for ages, isn't it? It's one of those things where, you know, as you say, you don't want to leave anything to the cards now, do you? It's not worth it.
I would be. I'm not cynical enough to say it's purposeful corruption, but it's probably just a little bit of incompetence, or just, I don't know. Just they're not seeing it the way that the fans are seeing it, are they? They're maybe looking for something else.
Well, the thing is, the officials are looking at different stuff, aren't they? You know, you'll find some officials will like the fact that a guy's coming forward, he's pressing, you know, whether even if he's hitting the gloves or whatever, he's pressing the fight, he's sort of pushing it. Yet you'll get other guys that look at the counter, you know, the way their movement and all that sort of thing, and accuracy. So it's strange how judges are so varied, but that was really wide last week.
Yeah. I mean, it was
118 to 111 for two judges.
Yeah. That's mental.
Yeah, and like we were saying earlier, I don't know how many rounds you gave him, but...
Well, the thing is that you can have a close fight. I always say this to people. If you have you have a 10-round fight and every round is a close round,
yeah,
you can still have a wide score, because someone can just nick 10 rounds. They can all be close rounds, but he could just nick all 10 rounds, and you can get a wide score.
Yeah,
it can happen. But I don't think last week. I don't think them rounds were close rounds. I think Martinez, won at least 8 rounds pretty comfortably.
Yeah, it's mad. I don't really. A lot of people don't still get it. That's the thing. It's one of those, isn't it? And it's always going to tear the crowd, the audience down half.
Yeah. People
aren't going to think, oh well, it could have gone either way. But like you were saying, it's different when you do have, close rounds, and you think, yeah, that's fair enough. Like I always look back to the Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder first fight.
Yeah, I thought Tyson Fury won that.
And he boxed his head off. Like,
yeah.
And I think if Wilder hadn't landed that punch in the 12th, I'm sure it was the 12th, I don't think it would have been close at all.
Yeah. I think I watched it in Australia. I was actually in Australia at the time, and I thought Tyson Fury had done enough to win it, but with him getting knocked down, I can see how it was given a draw and that. Like, you're not going to complain with that, but there was no wide scoring on it, at least, was there?
No, it was. Fury kind of accepted it. Wilder was saying, "I've won it," and Fury was just like, "Well, give me a rematch, and I'll just prove you wrong." And look what he did. He absolutely beat him. He beat him to a pulp. Second fight.
Yeah.
So.
And he was still whinging about that.
Oh, mate. I think it was the weight of the suit.
The gloves.
Tyson's glove was slipped down or something.
Yeah.
Not that would make any difference, because if that was the case, he wouldn't have the power behind the glove to do anything anyway. It's got, and now he's blaming his trainer, isn't he, for spiked water?
Yeah, I think you've just got to accept it, haven't you? Like, even if you think you've been robbed, just be humble and just accept it, and just congratulate the other person on being better than you on the night, and get on with it and move on to your next fight, innit?
Because that's the thing. He's almost like pushed himself out now, isn't he? Like,
you're not going to change the referee's decision here, or the judge's decision.
Yeah, they're just going to think, why do I want to fight him if he's just going to make these excuses all the time? And yeah, it's a strange one. I'm going to grab your thoughts before you go. AJ Fury, will it happen this year?
It won't happen until there's crowds. Eddie loves a pound note, doesn't he? He's not going to... he's not going to let them fight without filling a 90,000 seater stadium and making it the biggest British boxing clash since Groves Froch or whatever.
Yeah. I think it'll go abroad.
Yeah.
It'll go abroad.
You reckon?
Yeah, first
Middle
fight.
East or something like that.
Yeah, they'll. It was they could possibly like Saudi, somewhere like
Yeah.
that, because you'll get the crowd there, and I don't think either of them really want to wait. That's the thing, and they could get top money out there. You know,
Well, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Is if the money's there, they'll do it.
who would you say will win it then? Who would you put your money on if you had? If I gave you £100, who would you put it on? Not that I'm gonna.
You'd have to say Tyson Fury, wouldn't you? If you'd have asked me a few years ago when Tyson, after the Klitschko fight and Tyson Fury was, on his downward spiral, I'd have said AJ, all day. Tyson Fury's never coming back to that. But what a story for him to come back from all that way and the depression and all the rest of it. It's it's unbelievable. And for that just shows you that the man is a fighting man. And I'm one of these people who believes that boxing is it's 90% a mental sport. And I just think he's a miles better fighter than Joshua. But I'm also one of the rare people that's a fan of both of them.
Yeah, I am, to be fair.
I wouldn't mind doing one. I think it would be a good fight, but I think Tyson Fury would get the better of him mentally and in terms of boxing skill as well.
Do you think he'll win it before it gets to the fight? Because he's the mastermind, isn't he? Of when he turned up the Klitschko in a Batman outfit, I
think secretly they're probably both mates and they probably both speak to each other, so they'll probably work together to drum up quite a bit of attention for the fight. But I think actually mentally as a fighter, deep down, I think Fury's probably got AJ's number in that respect. He looked a bit, when he fought Andy Ruiz, he looked a bit something had got to him then, hadn't it? So it just, I think
I couldn't figure that out. I'm still not sure what that was.
I've no idea, but he just looked. He didn't look very confident going into the ring, did he? I'm not saying that's the reason that he lost or anything, but he looked nervous, didn't he? And a bit out of thoughts. So.
And you think first time abroad as well?
Yeah, it was in America, wasn't it?
Yeah, so
was it in America? Yeah.
Was it a case of that home support wasn't there? Because when he walked out, there was booing, and you think this is the first time in his career he's not had thousands all chanting him. The music's going, the flames are going up the side. It's the AJ show, isn't it? And he's walked into an arena and he's got they were describing him, a fat Mexican in front of him. They've written him off.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think AJ is obviously a really mentally tough guy to have achieved what he's done. I just think Tyson Fury's a born fighter and he'll always find a way. That's what it comes down to. AJ's an amazing athlete, but Tyson Fury's a born fighter and they always find a way, don't they? No matter what.
No, we shall see. Hopefully, I know they're talking about June time, but I don't know.
Isn't it?
It's soon when you would think you would need a massive build-up.
Yeah.
For that fight, probably the biggest build-up ever, where they go on a road show, going up and down, promoting it all over the place. So we shall see. But I appreciate your time, Mike.
No worries.
I hope you make a full recovery, mate, and you get back down that gym.
So do I.
And we'll see you back out soon, mate.
All right. Cheers, mate. Nice one.
Thanks
Good
for coming on.
to you.
Yeah, take care, mate. Well, that was Mike McGoldrick. Really nice guy. Really nice guy. And I wish him all the best for the future. You've been watching JG's Fight Talk. Once again, sponsored by Rich's Boxing and Boxing Pin Badges. So give them a look on Twitter. And I'll speak to you soon. Take care.